Welcome to D2 Bites, a show where we serve up quick conversations about marketing over snacks. I'm Laura Lynchitsky. Joining me today is Vijaya Singh, and we're talking about niche targeting. Stick around. What advantages does targeting a niche audience have over something that's way more broad?
So I think with niche targeting, the benefits of thinking niche within our industry is that we are able to get more bang for our buck because we're automatically trying to only speak to the people we have to speak to and not look for any of the erroneous audiences that might fall into the same category.
In healthcare, niche targeting is even more challenging. There's more regulations that we would have to follow too, sometimes with HCPs or just with marketing medical devices, especially to patients. How do you navigate all of that?
Very, very delicately. So there's a lot, even as our landscape in general has been changing, we and our clients are still sticking to a lot of tried and true regulations because we always want to keep our HCPs as safe as possible, or our patient audiences as safe as possible. We don't want them to think that they're being targeted because of XYZ, so no attribution language. And I think we also have to keep into consideration that as we're sticking within our regulations, it's helpful to stay within those regulations, even as we're trying to personalize content, because especially when it comes to patients, personalized content can be a little bit difficult because they want to know how you got that information. They'll want to know why you have that information and so on. And I can understand as as people ourselves, if someone said XYZ, you have this, come buy this, I'm going to say did you talk to my doctor? Because that's a HIPAA violation. What did you do?
And there are a lot more stakeholders now in the just influencers in the decision process. What audiences are you talking to now that maybe you weren't talking to as much even a couple of years ago?
Definitely within the B2B space, we have to talk to, I want to say every hand that has to touch the piece of paper that says yes, that you can buy this. And I think with some of our clients, you've seen, we're not just talking to the end user, which is the HCP, we're talking to the hospital administrator who has to sign off on it. And then even before that, we're talking to the IT team who has to work with the system, but even though they're not the end user, but they have to have a sign off because they need to make sure that they're comfortable with the security of whatever it is that we're working with. And then even before that, we're talking to procurement teams because sometimes procurement doesn't understand the value of something. They just understand the cost of something. So we have to also help our clients talk to people who they probably didn't even think that they should be talking to, but they're now seeing hurdles in those spaces. And so now we have to filter down our messaging even further to make sure that we're talking to as many people who are going to be a part of the decision-making process as possible. And it can be tough, but it means that even further, we have to bend our niche targeting even further to make sure that the thing we're telling procurement isn't the thing that we're telling IT because they don't care about the same thing.
So you want a custom message, but you also want consistency.
Exactly. This is where our creative people come into play because creating that overarching message that will speak to everyone and then boiling it down to the sound bites that are going to work for each person is kind of where the niche targeting place comes into play. And the overall arching message is always one thing that will speak to everyone, but it's sound bites that we have to then give to the niche audiences so that they can associate the overall messaging with the thing that matters the most to them.
Two of the campaigns that you're running now were just honored with a Vega Digital Award for niche targeting. Can you talk about some of those campaigns and maybe the challenges that you faced or the outcomes that you're getting?
Sure. So one of them focused on an IT audience, and the reason we had to focus on them was our client had talked about the fact that they were an audience that is really important in the buying process, but they're an audience that the client has traditionally not had the opportunity to speak to. So that one was interesting because as an agency, we didn't feel the same apprehension about targeting that audience because we felt like we could do it, but it was about making sure that we could get the client comfortable with our skills, and I think we did that given the award. and also given how quickly we were able to get conversions going for them. And I think the thing that got us into that IT audience was because we understood all the things we were talking about before, is that we're not just looking for any IT person who works with a computer. We're looking for people specifically within hospitals. We're looking at what their behaviors are and where they over-index as far as like digital platforms. And then also we were looking at what are their sound bites that they're going to care for. And then with the other one, it was a product that's already in market for certain kinds of clinicians, but a new clinician had to be attached to it, the obstetrics in general, so OBGYNs in general, and they behave they are physicians, but they behave a little bit different from, like, so let's say a trauma surgeon. So it was about figuring out who they are and what their differences are than everyone else that campaign had been speaking to, and then how we can, again, get their sound bites to matter to them so that they can start taking this product more seriously, especially since like the product was already in market for their colleagues, but they were like, oh, people don't pay attention to things that don't matter to them, and that includes physicians. So
No, that's true. What channels have been the most effective when you're trying to reach a really narrow audience?
So within the B2B space, LinkedIn definitely, just because LinkedIn is giving us the opportunity to not, because I think most people think of LinkedIn as like, oh, okay, everyone's job titles or industries. And that's only two things. You can't really find a niche audience based on two things. But LinkedIn then we can target by geography, we can target by interest, we can target by the groups that they've chosen to join, we can target by their education, by what degrees they have, and all of those things. So I think LinkedIn has been really great for niche targeting when it comes to B2B audiences. And then when it comes to more like DTC spaces, I think Meta is a lot to work with. And if every marketer who's worked in Meta knows that Meta Business Suite is the bane of their existence. I'm sorry, Meta.
No, it's
right. However, Meta, you can do a lot with Meta as far as like affinity targeting, lookalike audiences, even like drilling down into certain demographics. So it's like, it's helpful for DTC. And then, so I would say the answer is Meta for DTC and then LinkedIn for B2B.
Any lessons that you learned during any of those campaigns that you were running or currently running that other marketers could apply when they're trying to reach a niche target audience?
I think the lesson is, and this is like with campaigns that have been successful and then campaigns that have not been so successful, and it's that like we can't make assumptions like anecdotal. Like a lot of our marketing can be anecdotal because the more time you spend in this industry, the more experience you gain, the more you understand the target audiences that you work with, especially if you work with the same audience over and over again. But I think the thing we have to do is every time you get a new client or a new campaign, leave the assumptions like in your back pocket and like bring them to the table later. But I think if you make assumptions about each audience from the jump, then you do yourself a disservice because things are always changing, platforms are always changing, and people are always changing. So if you start with like new information and then you infuse the information you know, that I think is more helpful, especially for niche targeting, than starting with, oh, these are the 10 things I already know about these people. Then infuse new things, especially like if you've been in the industry as long as we have, because the target audiences from like the same IT audience, for instance, today versus like maybe if we ran a campaign 3 years ago, like some of those assumptions we probably couldn't pull through to today.
Yeah.
So I think that's the tidbit.
Yeah, there's generational differences.
Exactly.
There's how people where people go to look for information if they're trying to solve a problem.
Exactly. How AI has changed, like how people will engage on certain platforms, especially with search. Now that we can't get as many clicks because like AI is like, oh, I have all the answers for you.
Right. And
so, yeah.
I think that would be something interesting to watch as far as niche targeting goes, because I think with chatbots, some people are just telling the chatbot everything about them. So there could be something.
There's a place for it because ChatGPT now has ads.
Yes.
And ChatGPT has like their own health space, which I think is scary. But they have their own health space, which is helpful for us, but scary all at the same time.
Mm-hmm. I agree. That's it for today's bite-sized chat. Catch you next time on D2 Bites. Have you ever seen an ad and thought, like, they know way too much about me?
Yes, every time I am on, what's this platform? Prime, because I refuse to pay them more money. So it has ads.
You
So
can
I'm
know
like,
everything about me. I'm not going to pay you another however many dollars.
yeah, I was like, okay, I know I've been shopping way too much. Like, stop because they have the little shoppable things.
Oh.
I'm like, this is bad. I don't need the thing I was searching for. I was just looking at shoes. Like, I need to be allowed to just look at shoes without you telling me that I need to buy them.